of support are great, but what actions are we and should we as a Black community be taking to cause real systemic change? Because we've spoken about like actions we could do, but what are the real actions that need to take place? I'm going to ask you, Sophie, since we're just talking about candidates. Sophie, what do you think? Like, what action should we be taking?
Well, I don't know if you guys saw a video by Killer Mike. He's a rapper from Atlanta. And he came out and gave like a press conference, and one thing that he said that really spoke to me was vote. Like in America at the moment, America seems to have a lot of rounds of voting. So I know like their national election isn't coming up till late this year, but they had an election that was going on, and people literally were queuing for 4 hours. But he was just like, one of the things that we can do to make change is vote. Vote in somebody who is going to vote in the policies that we want. Vote in somebody who is going to, you know, break down systemic racism and do all these things. And I think that sometimes when voting, we seem to be picking between a bad option and a worse option. That's what it feels like. And a lot of people therefore don't exercise their right to vote, which I understand, because they're like, it's not going to make a difference, nobody cares. But the point is, if we keep on doing that and we don't turn up to the voting booths or the poll stations, nothing ever will change. So for me, one of the major things is we need to exercise our right to vote, both here in the UK and overseas.
I'm going to expand on that with Sophie, actually. I don't think it's just about simply voting. I think we also need to start visiting our local council meetings, because that is where all these little bits of change or rules and regulations, they start there. And if we're not physically present when they bring out these new legislations or they suggest these new legislations, we're just going to be hit with them when it's too late. So I think visiting our local council meetings, just literally, there's so many ways of doing it. If you just Google on.gov local council or whatever council you belong to, they're still, even now with lockdown and everything, they are still doing them via Skype and remotely. So I think that is something we need to do. But I think the main thing is wealth. It's all about wealth and power. Guys, think about back in the day, and I'm gonna go to colonization, right? When they came to Africa, what did they take? They took our land, right? Because it's a known fact that when you have land, you will have income streams, whether it's building upon that land or growing things upon that land. They came and took our land. They physically marked up our countries as their own. When the Black people fought I think the Civil War in America, they offered them 40 acres and a mule. The mule ain't too important. Who cares about that donkey? But the land, the 40 acres is, because why? You can't reproduce land. So once again, we were set back when those promises didn't come true. So it's all about power and money. So what we need to do is invest in Black businesses. You know, our Black pound, the last, 6 days or 6 hours in the Black community, whereas, well, hold on, give me a second. I think I screenshot.
She's going to confront her.
Yeah, in the Jewish community, I think it stays 2 weeks. Like the money,
it's like 2 weeks.
Pound takes 2 weeks within the Jewish community and hours within the Black community.
It was like, and the Black community, the pound stays about 6 hours or something.
It's ridiculous. So what we need to do, and I know it's not easy because we're not the first to be granted loans. You know, the number of us who are able to get into higher education isn't as much. We aren't CEOs and in boardrooms. I get that, cool, but we need to start somewhere and reinvest into our communities, our businesses. We need to distribute wealth that becomes generational wealth. That's the
But I think we need to talk statistically. This is just a quick point. Sorry, Luanda. Go. Actually, I think it's statistically that Black Africans are one of the highest proportions in higher education.
You're right, actually. Yeah, you're actually right. You are right.
Like, it's not we do have access. So I just wanted to clarify that we are heavily represented in education.
But we aren't getting the jobs afterwards.
Yeah.
Listen.
Just to expand on what you were saying, Linda, is that I do think like we need to be out there with the Black community, supporting Black businesses. People have a bit more entrepreneurial spirit, etc., etc. But for those who are like working a regular 9 to 5, or maybe might be in more isolated parts of the country where there isn't such a strong Black community, they can start, I think, with little steps within their own workplace, in their own. Because, for example, it's starting with the small stuff for me, and that's what's going to break systemic change. So when you're in your company, it's challenging all those little microaggressions. So for me personally, like just my own personal experience, my first workplace that I went into, it was an 80-person capacity office. I was the only Black female there, okay, for X amount of years. And so every time I walked in with a new hairstyle, the masses would swarm around me to be like, oh, like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And wanting to have lunchtime conversations and going on and on and on. And there was just a point where I just at first I was kind of like, you know, trying to play the game because I'm new to an office experience. I'm just out of uni. I'm trying to figure out how to assert myself, but to do my job, etc., etc., etc. Then I just got to a point where I was like, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. Every time I came in with my hair, I would just say, I'm not talking about it. I'm not explaining to you what I've done to my hair. We're not talking about it because I haven't asked you, oh my God, you've got a ponytail, Jill? Like, no, highlight.
Jill. Oh, Jill.
My hair was down yesterday, Jill. And now I don't ask for her to give me a step-by-step explanation of this new ponytail. I understand.
Yeah.
And it changes. Yeah. And so that was me breaking down the first steps of breaking down the I'm not like a show pony and all of you must know and the Black person does something new. And so it's almost like, not to ramble on, but it's like I don't know if you guys saw the article about like Republic Records.
Yes.
No longer going to use the
urban
to describe music.
Urban
has been around for so long. When urban is more a geographical term, I don't understand why it was grouped several different genres of music. It doesn't make any sense.
It's a good point.
But in the sense of wherever you are, in whatever industry you are in, whether you are the small fish, big fish, medium fish, swim, you know, you go in and you just break those microaggressions. You have to. If you're not in the place to start your own business, you've got to start where you are. So that's why.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's not so much about starting your own business, because not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone has that passion. But I think what Linda was getting at was to be support ones that are already there, right? And I think that like everyone who is an ally of the Black community, or anyone who is in the Black community, I would challenge them, like right now today, to find 5 things that they use regularly. And just replace them with something from a Black-owned company. Like if you need new duvet sheets, find a Black-owned company that sells duvet sheets and buy them. You need foundation, buy it from a Black-owned. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff, like getting it into our regular pattern, that's when we see like big change. Like what you said, Anissa, like it starts small and then it gets big. Exactly. So this is where we need to, that's where we need to be heading from it. You know what I mean?
I can't nod anymore, Luanda.
Like, listen. Anyone watching this right now, after lockdown, next time you have a date night, just go to a Black-owned restaurant. Go and eat at a Black-owned restaurant. Let's start there, okay?
I think what you guys are saying is so important, because I know timeout.com came with a really great article, because it showed that there are so many ways that you can do. You can do Black-owned businesses, you can buy books. There are so many books that are at hand now. We can protest, and we can donate to different causes, like the Black Lives Matter cause, Stephen Lawrence Trust, like another one was Show Racism the Card. Like there are a lot of different things that we can be doing in order to support this movement. But I guess for me, I feel like sometimes personally, some of the things that we do aren't actually moving us forward in terms of systemic change. Now, I don't want to be controversial. In terms of like taking down the statues, like for me, I don't know if that's really leading to systemic change. Like, I think Luanda, girl, give me 2 minutes.
I'm with you.
Give me 1 minute. So, for me personally, I think that taking down the statue is an easy win. We take down the statue, and then for UK or Great Britain, we've done something. We've contributed to systematic change. And I'm just like, how about we get all the information from the school curriculum? How about we teach children both sides of the story? Because taking down the statue is cool, but a lot of these statues, people don't even know who they're walking past. A lot of them. So for me, seeing that as like a win for structural change, I don't see it like that. Boris Johnson said when they wanted to take down Churchill was, you know, if we take him down, we're going to be lying about our history. And I'm just going to be like, let's tell the whole history, Boris. Let's talk about the things that he did for the war, and let's talk about where he was out and out racist, and talk about the whole entire character of a person. Because taking down a statue is not going to make long-term change, in my opinion.
No, I hear that 100%. I don't think anyone was seeing that as a structural win. The reason why the statues, like dashing them things into the rivers there, was so important to me because of what it symbolized.
Yes.
And actually, Sophie, like after they were knocking down statues, after they did, was it Edward Colston in Bristol? Yeah. Then the conversation of what are we doing to our society began. It opened up something new, because like you said, we don't even know who we're walking past. We don't know. But looking at how, not only was there an Edward Colston statue, but there was also a Colston Tower, and then there was a Colston Hall. You're looking at how integrated, how ingrained racism is in our society, and doing
and celebrated
that vision. And then directly after they knocked the statue into the river, the next person that was on the news was a Black woman saying, we need to talk about these things in our school curriculum. But they would not have had her on the show if we hadn't knocked my man into the river in the first place. Do you see what I mean?
I understand. I think that's a good point. It's a good point. So it opens up conversation. Okay.
I don't think no one was like, oh, we put it in the river and then we're done.
That's it. Let him drown.
But this is some of the things that people think. They think that, well, we give you this, so you should be fine now. We've taken down the statue. We're about to take it down. You know, it's a win. And I'm like, it's not a win for me. It's not.
And that's why neither are them black squares. Neither are them black squares.
It's about having long-term action, I think. I think at the moment we are being, which is fine because something tragic has just happened, but we're being quite reactive. And I think now we've got to go to the point where we're proactive. We have to have some sort of long-term plan. Where that plan will come from, I don't know. I'm not of political.
I will slightly disagree with you, Anissa. I don't think we're being reactive. Do you know why? This Black Lives Matter didn't start with George Floyd.
No.
And protests about taking down statues didn't just start after Colston was brought down. Conversations like this have started, I think it was a year or two ago, that one particular woman was talking about it in Bristol in particular. So these things haven't just started.
Not those particular things, just to clarify my statement. I mean more like of the Blackout Tuesdays and Pretty Little Things and brands saying, like we support Black Lives Matter. That stuff is being quite reactive, I think.
That stuff, you got to think of these brands as PR, right? You know, at the end of the day, they want to keep their coin. It all comes back to that coin, doesn't it, right? Yeah. So I think the reason why these brands are doing this now is because there have been so many voices added. I think more people have woken up, whether or not it's going to continue, but the winds of change are going to continue. I'm going to say I'm hopeful that it will do, because I feel like this time feels a bit different to previous times, only because of the mass. We've had protests in 18 other countries. Was a country that had it and I was like, wow, not Syria.
Germany?
Not Germany.
Poland?
No, there's another one. Was it like Iran or Syria or...
yeah. I don't remember the exact. I know what you're talking about. I remember seeing it. Yeah,
they're going through it, and they took time to have that. Even Russia had one. Do you know what I mean? This is the first time. Every single state in America actually had a protest. That's historic. So I really feel like the winds of change are really moving this time, and I think if people wake up and realize that it is money. I will keep saying it.
But money is power, and that's why we need to keep talking about it.
But I agree with Sophie in the sense that we do need to teach our history. It's not that slaves were taken from Africa. It's people were taken from Africa and turned into slaves. Our whole saying that, we're lying. No. We know what he did. It's the fact that we educate. Because that's the thing. All these people that are in school now, the kids, the children, the little babies, these people are going to grow up. Right? And it's what they're being taught now, what they're being fed now, that will continue the waves of change that have been started at present.
No, it's so true. Like, I went to a predominantly Black school growing up, and it was a really great experience. It was a church school, it was a private school, and I was so entrenched in the idea. Let me not say that. Being Black was just normal. Like, you didn't have to worry about it. There were no issues. I didn't have those things about, is it okay? Do I want my hair to be different? Because everyone was the same. And there was a beauty that really came with that. So we had Black History Month, but all the time was Black history. And we're talking about different things. When I was in year 5, I moved to a predominantly white school, and we had reading time on Thursday afternoons. And I was reading the children's version of Malcolm X that my mum had bought for me. And this little boy was like, who's Malcolm X?
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? I was confused. I'm like, how can you not know who Malcolm
Yeah.
X is? I talked about
Yeah.
Martin Luther King. He was like, who? And I was shocked because it was so normal to know about people like that. So Linda, you're so right. Like, it's about money, it's about power, and it's also about educating ourselves as adults and ourselves as children, so that they know the entire birth of history and what's going on, because it's not okay for people not to know about any other culture apart from their own. Black people, we don't get that opportunity. We have to know about white culture to be able to function in the world.
Exactly.
So you need to know about us, who have also contributed in large amounts to society.
Also, it's really important for us to, when we're looking at re-educating people, to not start Black history with slavery. Like there was a quote.
Yes,
start with slavery. Slavery interrupted Black history, right? And we don't want to talk about all the thousands of libraries that were burnt down. And I think the Greeks burnt a lot of libraries down, a lot of information that we had. The first university was in Africa. A lot of musical instruments originated from Africa. We are acting as if
in Ethiopia, I think. Yeah.
What did you say?
The oldest church is in Ethiopia, I'm pretty sure.
You know what? That's actually where the university was as well. But these things that we're acting like we're welcomed into, we actually created. So we need honest re-education as well.